Hello, welcome to part 3 of the Poetry Interpretation Kit. When we talk about musicality in poetry, one of the things that we might mean by that word is that just that it sounds pretty. And that's not terribly sophisticated, but when someone wants to say, oh, that sounds pretty, and they don't want to sound unsophisticated, they might comment on the musicality of it. More precisely, musicality means you can hear the rhythm. You might find yourself reading it rhythmically, or you might feel yourself moving somehow, that there's a sense of poetic kinesthesia. That's a term that I used in my master's thesis. I was writing about Emily Dickinson, but I got that term poetic kinesthesia from a critic who was writing about Keats, who said that Keats's poetry, that it was so alive for Keats that it's very physically embodied. So that sense of the rhythm of it, music is voice related, but it's also movement related. Sometimes you can sing it to a recognized tune. You can do that with Emily Dickinson, not so much with iambic pentameter. Again, the meter is just a measured rhythm. There's some musicality with Keats. It does sound pretty, to autumn particularly. And you can hear the rhythm. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. It's hard to read that and not fall into the rhythm. And I would say the place where I feel that poetic kinesthesia, that sense of physicality or movement of it, is to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. Those are words that imply motion, and I feel them. To set budding more and still more, that and still more is something that I feel. Here's some terms for meter. When you're trying to decide what the meter of a poem is, you can scan it for its rhythm. One unit of a particular rhythm or pattern is called a foot. And then there are different types of feet. I mentioned earlier going over this that what we have into autumn is iambic pentameter. So we'll just look at that again. And sometimes like a gleaner thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press with patient look, thou watchest the last oozing hours by hours. I have a hard time saying that, the last oozings hours by hours. That sibilance is tripping me up. It makes me feel like I lisp a little bit. And iamb, the rhythm of that goes da-dump. The opposite of an iamb is trochee. So steady is actually a trochee because the emphasis is on the first syllable, steady, not steady, steady. Oh, and my goodness, we're ready for part 4.